But yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm so interested. I'm seeing a lot of overlap as well. So hopefully you guys can maybe take some information from my research and apply it to yours or something like that, because I feel like I'm getting a lot of really great ideas. The introduction here. So this is the Uncanny Host. This is domestic horror and the broken ritual in Euripides' Cyclops. So Euripides' Cyclops transforms Homer's infamous cave into the charged architecture of the Dionysiac theater and then dresses it like a Greek household. That choice is not a harmless joke. In fact, it produces what Freud calls the unheimlich, the return of what once was Heimlich and homely in a form that is estranged and rather frightening. The more recognizably Greek the cave's furnishings and talk become, i.e. stools, skin, wine, bargaining, the more unsettling the scene feels. This is because the ritual and ethical grammar that secures the oikos, which means home in Greek, it has been inverted. The host devours his guests. Libation does not reconcile men and gods. Songs sound like a symposium, yet they entertain cannibalism. So, in this paper, I argue that Euripides transforms Homer's cannibal scene into a theater of uncanny domesticity by staging three deliberate distortions. The first distortion, he turns a border cave into a parodic oikos, an edge home. This is where you get oikos, the Greek yogurt that actually means home. If you didn't know, now you know. An edge home, where ordinary and mundane forms of language and exchange remain in place but no longer protected. Second, he replaces sacrifice with a pseudo-sense of hospitality which imitates the sequence and sound ritual while also canceling its meaning. Lastly, he concentrates dread around seeing and being seen so that the blinding of the single eye becomes an injury to the very organ through which the self recognized and is recognized. Jeffrey Jerome Cohen's monster theory clarifies why this comic reassignment of household forms heightens rather than diffuses anxiety, almost invoking a hysterical reimagining of the scenario. It emphasizes the monster's body incorporates fear, desire, anxiety, and fantasy, and is therefore pure culture. Egbert Bacher's account of meat and feasting and narrative helps explain why the scene's convivial sacrifice is ethically absent in this case. In the Odyssey, meat consumption is very much a central theme, and criminal eating resonates with the pre-cultural worlds Odysseus visits as he traverses through his nostos. Nostos in the Greek meaning the returning of home. That's what the Odyssey is, his return home. Chloe Bray's philology on Eschatia and Pyrrhar, those are the Greek, show that Homer's cave is already an edge space, a threatened space holding a momentary calm before deliberate action, while Pyrrhar signals a finality that is potentially fatal and unknowable for mortals. So firstly here, a border cave refurnished as a home. Homer situates the Cyclops in these lexicon of edges, if you will. As Bray argues, Eschatia in Homer marks a threatened space where a person may be temporarily safe before moving into danger, while Pyrrhar denotes a definite boundary whose consequence depends on divine will. She notes that the Cyclops cave and shoreline as such edge spaces with a little sweet here. These scenes whose transitional force threatens not only life but leadership as Odysseus loses men and moves towards isolation through this journey of his. From the start of the epic, it tempts recognition. Odysseus sees the cave where he kept everything and lingers over its domestic inventory. We have Puroi, Armena, Sekoi. These are, in the Greek, cheeses, milking vessels, pens, before he chooses to wait for the host's xenia gifts. The xenia, Dora xenia, which just means the host's gifts. Xenia is a concept that, if I have time, I will get into. Euripides amplifies this domestic expectation by staging it. Silenus haggles like a steward. Satyrs fetch water and wood. Polyphemus returns from pasturing. He inventories his stock. He questions strangers. He calculates the gains that he's made. This refurnishing is crucial because it makes the cave look Heimlich, precisely where Homer made it hostile to exchange. This inversion it actually produces an uncanny effect because everything is familiar until the moment you mistrust it. The trust collapses when the host speaks. Polyphemus's creed is bluntly anti-civic. The Greek is the Greek, but what he says in translation is, "We Cyclops care nothing for Zeus who bears the aegis." And the testimony is further confirmed by the raw killing that follows. Euripides preserves this basic reversal while intensifying it by making the cave even more recognizably Greek. Cohen helps name the pressure of that recognition. The monster dwells at the caves of difference, a mixed category that breaks binary opposition and demands polyphony. Many sounds, essentially, is what that means, etymologically, at the base of human order. Euripides literalizes that gate as a door to a cave that looks like a house, like our house. What crosses that liminal space is the possibility that Greek forms what we trust: work, talk, feast, and how that may persist after an ethical mediation has failed. Secondly, the cordial surface that cancels this sacrifice. Bakker shows that in Homer, the movement from raw to cooked, the orderly distributions of joints, and the right sequence of word and action bind men to gods and to one another. When meat and speech are staged badly, however, the social and narrative order is corrupted. Polyphemus violates these notions openly. He eats the homon and rejects prayer. He eats all this food, he's doing all these things, and he's throwing a big old FU to the Zeus with the aegis. He then treats wine as fuel rather than offering Odysseus, giving him flaming wine as he drains it. In the Greek, I won't read it, but in the translation, he asked me for a second time. Again, I gave him flaming wine. Thrice I poured as I brought it, and thrice he drained it in his folly. And let it be known that this is unmixed wine. So in the antiquity, there was mixed wine. So Polyphemus is drinking some unmixed wine here. So, well, he might need it because he's a pretty big boy. But Euripides overlaps the same failure with Dionysiac cheer. Silenus crowns, pours, and thieves many sips on the side. He's getting a little tipsy himself. The chorus chatters like symposiists. And Polyphemus praises the drink while learning the gods' name. Yet the sequence never becomes right, or ritual rather. It is convivial without reciprocity. That's the xenia that I mentioned in prior. The parody clarifies itself when Polyphemus proclaims his belly theology. In translation, I sacrifice to no one but myself, not to the gods, and to the greatest divinity, this belly. So he's showing hubris essentially to the gods again, and that's not good news. And when he perverts the xenia by listing these guest gifts as very implements that will cook Odysseus, in the translation, you will receive guest gifts, and that's what the xenia is. It's kind of like this exchange, this reciprocity. as the very implement, you will receive guest gifts like these, so you cannot complain. Fire and this ancestral bronze, which, once heated, will nicely enfold your flesh. Oh, that's nice. The gift is that he's going to kill him. At that name exchange, he adds the macabre bonus. I will feast on you later than all the comrades, in referring to Odysseus. So he's being a little kind to Odysseus, and he's saying, you know what, I'll eat you last, all right, buddy? That's going to be my gift for you. The Homeric background deepens distortion. In the epic, the drink that seals communion is measured and prayerful, but here, unmixed wine, like I mentioned prior, accelerates appetite into violence. Bray's Edge lexicon explains this tension. To cross Pyrata is to invite verdict from the gods. And he's definitely inviting a verdict from the gods when he's doing all these FUs to Zeus. That's what we see this many a time in mythology, you guys. Euripides lets that subliminal web hum beneath counterfeit ritual so that toasts and crowns sound at the brink of a limit. Seeing, being seen, and that single eye. So Freud's catalog of uncanny triggers includes doubles, automatism, repetition, and a charged cluster around eye and seeing. Eyes are vulnerable organs of identity and recognition. Homer builds the episode around the loosening and retightening of identity through the eye. Odysseus first serves name from body. We call this the Utis ruse. Utis meaning nobody in the Greek. And in the translation, nobody is my name, and nobody my mother and father call me. That's what Odysseus, you guys know this, I'm sure you do. So when Polyphemus howls to his neighbors, nobody is killing me by guile, not by force, help dissolves, right? Only later does Odysseus restore the binding of name to body, shouting from the ship as he's leaving. And you gotta love Odysseus. Clever guy, still has quite a bit of an ego, like all these Greek heroes do. As he says, as he's leaving, Cyclops, if any mortal man should ask about the shameful blinding of your eye, say that Odysseus, sacker of cities, blinded you, son of Laertes, who has his own in Ithaca. He literally just doxed himself. Like as he's leaving, he just blinded him, and he's like, oh, by the way, I'm actually not Buddhist, and by the way, this is exactly where I live, and this is my father. He's got to be known for his guile and his wit, I guess. Euripides tightens and stages this arc so that the audience experiences it bodily, right? The single eye centers perspective in the cave. The blinding removes the center as the chorus sings, hesitates, and then giddily misdirects the wounded host. Freud's uncanny is activated because the injury strikes the organ that anchors recognition and identity. Cohen's shifting monster explains why disquiet persists in this laughter. It's unsettling, if you will. The figure does not resolve fear, it circulates it rather. Edge spaces corrupt language. Promises fail. Prayers do not bind. Names slide between mask and essence. Bray's Pyrar, it really clarifies the stakes. Pyrata are divinely sanctioned boundaries, as I mentioned before. Flexible for gods, yet fixed and unknowable for mortals. The word carries a web of ideas that shape scenes of decisive crossing. And when I mean Pyrata, as you guys can see in the Greek, I'm just saying, anyways. In Homer, the Utis ruse converts a cry for help into a non-event, right? Then the shouted name from the ship re-enters a world where names oblige and the gods answer. Euripides threads the same economy through exchange talk. The opening barter mini-drama casts Odysseus and Silenus as buyer and steward. The so-called Doron Xenion is cannibal delay. The chorus twists Udis into nowhere to perplex the blinded host, and only efficacious words are counterfeits that keep the form of binding without its substance. Bray demonstrates that Homer, and I'm wrapping it up here, you guys, so I apologize if I'm going over a little bit. Bray demonstrates that Homer's boundary language accumulates meaning across episodes. Phrases like, to the furthest edge of the field, that's the translation in the Greek, cast scenes in a shadow of foreboding, a calmness before a storm, while Pyrar concentrates that finality toward victory or destruction. Odyssey 9 already marks the island's approach and the cave's mouth as thresholds where leadership thins and men are lost. Euripides compresses those resonances into a single room and then makes them bodily. The chorus shuttles across the cave mouth, testing complicity. Selenius, he oscillates between care and much self-interest. The staging with distinct entrances for mountain and shore in the Loeb tradition multiplies thresholds and confuses orientation. The stage becomes an edge machine. What in Homer is a sequence of nautical and narrative crossings becomes, in the sadder play, visible thresholds that bodies measure, cross, and fail to cross. Cohen's first and fourth theses give this reading its cultural point of contact. Monsters are born at the metaphoric crossroads of their moment. The monster's body incorporates fear, desire, anxiety, and fantasy, and exists only to be read. In Cyclops, the monstrous body reads Greek. Polyphemus inventories assets, praises pleasure, drinks well, argues shrewdly, and declares a theology of appetite that mimics a sympathetic bravado. As Theses 4 insists, the monster dwells at the gates of difference, and as an incorporation of the outside that originates from what lies beneath. Euripides makes that gate the threshold of a cave that feels like home, which is why recognition and estrangement arrive together. And in conclusion, the uncanny household and its unhealed fear. Euripides did not tame Homer's cave. He brought it home. He staged it as an edge home, a space that looks domestic and behaves like a border. He set Dionysiac laughter and sacrificial forms to work there, then subtracted the reciprocity that makes them bind. He concentrated dread through the organ and marks identity to the eye and the eye to identity, and then set that injury to song. The effect is uncanny because recognition and estrangement arrive together. Bray's edge lexicon clarifies why the cave remains a decisive threshold. Bacher's sacrificial semiotics clarifies why the feast remains a broken ritual. Cohen's theses clarify why the monster remains a cultural mirror. The lesson Cyclops presses is stark and useful. Laughter cannot handle the fear without healing it. Oikos can be a cave. The host can be a devourer. But the most frightening place is the one that still almost feels like home. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And we're going to move right along because Adam has happily joined us. Hi, Adam. Good to see you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. We're going to jump straight in with you so that we have just a little Q&A time at the end. So Adam L. Miller works for Nanzan University in Japan and teaches English and film history workshops. He's also the founder and host of Film Studies in Japan conference, the proceedings of which will be published with Cambridge Scholar in some months here. He's currently enrolled in Doctor of Education